Good Monday morning. It's Dr. Bill Williams again on the Influencers Podcast. I'm so glad you're tuning in today from all around the world, 190 countries, people all over the world tuning in. And what do they get today? They get Justin Rondeau, President of InvisiblePPC. I'm going to bring Justin in. He's in Austin, Texas. He's experienced. He's got white label products for folks. I want to have him explain exactly what he does, how he can help you be more successful in your business. I'm going to bring him in right now. Welcome to the Influencers Podcast, Justin.
Thanks so much for having me, Dr. Bill.
It's great to see you, and I've been looking forward to getting together with you online. It's almost Thanksgiving. We're having a good time here in Atlanta. How's it, Austin treating you?
It's nice and rainy right now, which normally people don't say like that's a nice thing, but we've been needing it for so long. So it's just kind of cool to see it. And it's also cooling us down too. So I'll take those two things.
I like Austin. I got a lot of friends there. My nephew's a dentist there. I've got clients that are dentists there. As I was a mastermind leader and a consultant in dentistry for most of my career as a dentist. So I'm familiar with Austin from that aspect. So you live in a great town.
There's a reason so many people are coming here.
Yep. Yeah. It's a hot place to go and become industrious. People like to work when they move to Texas.
Yeah, exactly.
So let me let you get going and tell us about InvisiblePPC. And I know you're part of 4 or 5 different businesses, all related to internet marketing. So what happened? Where were you? How'd you get going in this business?
Yeah, gosh. So how I got into the business. I was, God, this is forever ago at this point, but no, I was one of those liberal arts majors. I studied philosophy thinking I'd be a lawyer or get my PhD and actually teach like philosophy at the, higher end academic side of things. Then I realized, I don't want to do any of those things. And kind of found my way into the like marketing and tech world really accidentally. I joined a small software company based out of Cambridge, and they're truly a small software company. It's not one of those stories like, it was a small software company, HubSpot or something. No, it was a very small company that did email template software. So yeah, we were just, excuse me. Yeah, we were a small group, did both white label software as well as end client software. So people would utilize our tools there in their own like email service providers if they didn't have a template builder. Eventually they all ended up making those because that was table stakes. From there, I really got into email marketing conversion rate optimization. And so I had spent some time at a editorial, online publication called Which Test One, which is kind of like early evangelization of CRO and split testing. So looking at like companies' data where we publish their split tests, kind of bring our insights, interview people. We launched a conference and did a bunch of other things there as well. And that's when I kind of went all in to kind of where I spent most of my career so far was at a Digital Marketer. I was with them for about 7 years. Did all of their conversion rate optimization content, then ended up running the marketing team and the company. I've built a bunch of different software companies as well, exited one of them and currently launching another right now that is in the PPC space. And where and after that, went and did large scale software work where I was the head of acquisition at a company called teamwork.com. And then decided to kind of go into business for myself, partnered up with my business partner, Avi Kumar, and we actually purchased InvisiblePPC about 2 years ago at this point. So yeah, it's a long winding story. I don't know if anybody in marketing decided that they were going to be in marketing or get into this space. You kind of end up here, but it was a really, really cool journey so far. And, there's still a long ways to go.
Justin, sounds like you and I are very similar. You have more energy than you can put in a bottle. And so it leaks out. You got things, you got ideas, you want to do things, create. You're a creator and you're a leader. So it shows up. And I kind of feel the same way. I found that marketing was my forte. As a dentist, I was good at bringing people to a conclusion, to a decision. Mm-hmm. And then I started leading dentists to do the same thing. And I had a marketing company myself in dentistry for a long time. And then kind of fell into the mastermind space. And I like the small group teaching rather than an auditorium teaching. So that's kind of where I ended up over the last 10 years. So now that I'm retired and my space has now expanded again to the world through the internet. So I've enjoyed it. A lot of success, a lot of failure. So what I always want to ask my guest is this, Justin: your experience in your field leads you to see a lot of things that work and things don't work. So let's start off by talking about something you went through that didn't work, a failure.
Yeah.
What did you learn from it?
Man, there's so many I could pick. Like that's the thing. There's like I mean, I think if you think about anybody that's been in the space that's putting themselves out there, like I almost liken like your successes to like it's going to be the percentage wise of like a batting average. Like if you're batting 500, you're beating the odds like unbelievably. But in this case, I think there's probably two, and I think one that stands out to me is when I was managing a team earlier on in my career. So I'd always had small teams, or I worked with outsourced teams. But when I was really starting to lead like teams of 30 plus, I didn't follow one of my main tenets, which is trust but verify. I just did trust. And you're kind of doing that as a young leader. Like you're not wanting to step on toes. You're not wanting to feel like micromanagey, especially like for like my generation of people, like they don't like that. I don't like that. So I was trying to make sure that, it's like, no, you got this. Like, I trust you. I believe that you, are going to do things to the degree that you say you're going to do them. And I gave up control a little too early. And, this particularly, in this specific example, it was on a paid ads campaign, like a lot of money being spent on this campaign. And one of my like specialty areas, especially earlier on, was, setting up tracking using like Tag Manager and all this other fun stuff. And I was like, all right, you said you have it, go nuts. Right. And so let the team member do this. All they needed to do is set the conversion tag for when it was a live event for live event recordings. So when those were purchased, right? So they had to make sure they identified the unique ID that was for the purchase, not for, I don't know, the click. But where they screwed up was they threw it on the click and I didn't verify that activity. And so one of the things we were doing with our ad budget is if it was scaling up, we would say, and at this point we were using a paid agency to run the ads. We said, hey, if it's looking good, you can increase spend up to this amount. And just before I had left for the event, not knowing that we were optimizing for clicks, which is the worst thing that could ever happen. If you're sending conversion data back to Google saying like, this is what we're desiring and we're getting it, they're going to find more people like that. And it should be finding more people that would be doing your desired action, buying the recordings. But they were finding more people that were clickers, not buyers, which just ruins everything. And Google will spend to the moon at that point. And I remember saying, hey, the agency hit us back and was like, hey, everything's looking great. I'm like, I'm not seeing that in purchases. And then and I was away for the next 3 days, speaking at an event. And I told the team members, like, shut it down, right? We shouldn't, like, something's wrong. I don't know what it is. Just shut it down. And I didn't verify again that they relayed that message, which then turned into us spending about $100,000 in 3 days to make nothing. Right. Ooh. So probably I remember going into my boss's office that next week when I realized what happened. I was ready just to get axed at that point, because that's a big L to take. But they were gracious in that and kind of saw that, like, hey, I mean, you've got to a level where you can make $100,000 mistake, but don't do it again. But that's kind of where we landed. And that was also another cool learning for me. It's when you, like, the higher up you get in leadership and those things, you can, and I used to tell this to my team a lot, like, I can stomach a failure or a miss more than a junior employee can. And then being able to articulate why that happened and how it never happens again, like, you were able to do that. So that was a lot of lessons in that, but definitely one of my biggest ones where I forgot about verify when it came to trust and verify as an early leader.
I had a business partner that said, he was a banker. He said a big gross covers a lot of sins. Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. You can make a pretty big mistake if you make enough money to cover it. But hey, a lot of people wouldn't recover from $100,000 bone.
No.
You've seen a lot of other people fail too as companies in the marketing space.
Mhm.
What are 3 things that you think of that would enlighten our audience?
Um, First one is it's actually people fail because they're too slow to getting things to like they're 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 not getting things live fast enough because they're too afraid to fail. Right? It's this weird thing where they want perfection and they want these other things where it's like a lot of the point it's like just ship, don't be reckless, but ship and ship fast. It and I get why people do it. It's because in their like they don't want to be wrong. People don't want to fail. And that is fundamentally why you end up failing, right? You're too scared to make the call when you're supposed to do it and you don't pull the trigger, right? That's a big one. My other one is trusting, not verifying. That was a big lesson I learned there as well. And I think everything comes down to like clarity, right? Clarity, communication, and alignment, right? Most of the time people fail because they're not they're not communicating properly, like what done looks like or what good looks like or what success looks like. And if you have none of those things, then you don't actually have like a goalpost, right? You don't have anything to go towards. And if you can't have something measurable, then you're only going to fail at that point because you're hoping it's almost like you're hoping for success versus trying to like manifest it and work towards it. So I think, yeah, if I were to kind of break down the 3, it's people don't move fast enough because they're too scared to fail. They're too scared to ship. They're not verifying their work, and then or they're trusting too much, not verifying, which turns into like, hey, why isn't this funnel done? Or hey, why isn't this promotion hitting what it was supposed to? And the other is they're actually not in alignment or communicating to the team kind of what success looks like, which turns into frustration, which then turns into all kinds of abilities to fail at that level.
Yeah, that's great lessons for those people out in our audience listening. Fail fast, make decisions, and move on. Do your spell check. Don't trust autocorrect at all.
Absolutely.
And I think the future is don't trust AI totally without reading it.
Oh God, yeah, just when you said the spell check thing, I was like, man, you can take that to the next level, which is, people just copying and pasting the output from any of their like genius prompts they're putting in there. But that's a whole other discussion point there. It's like, it's hard to trust people, let alone robots at this point. So yeah.
So Justin, what motivates you internally to keep going, doing all this?
That's a really great question. It's not something I don't think I've actually, which is bad. I should be doing these types of exercises more, like doing some levels of introspection there. I think I've always just been like, I've always had this like drive, and I actually don't really know where it comes from. So I know everybody's a work in progress. But if I were to kind of do this live for people of like what I believe to motivate me, I think part of it early years was almost like a chip on my shoulder. Like I'm like a poor kid from New Hampshire, and I wanted to be more than that. And that can get you so far, right? And I think after that, like then it came down to just like I've always had a level of curiosity on things, and then and I love going down rabbit holes. And I think between those two things, it's like I had the drive to try to make a name or try to make something happen. I've always liked kind of doing things my way in general. But again, like anybody who can't kind of get out of that will kind of get in their own way up to a certain point, which I definitely have. Like I probably would have I would probably move up a lot faster in other positions had I been more willing to kind of like toe the party line, I suppose. But yeah, I think I've always had this like insatiable like curiosity, and then being like, ooh, but what if? Okay, this is a cool idea, but then what's the logical conclusion for this thing? Like, where should we end? And like, where does it end? Does it end? Right? And I think that's what makes me excited to do things and to do a launch or to to go from, hey, like we're a white label services company to cool, we can use our own internal data or our internal tools and we can actually sell those too. And what does that turn into? And how does that then like what sort of force multiplier is that for our business like unit as a whole? Right. And so I think, yeah, it's more it's got to be almost like curiosity based, like just always curious, trying to tinker, figure things out. And there's definitely ego involved too. Like I don't want to pretend like, oh, I'm just this like philosopher. I'm not like, I'm like Immanuel Kant walking down the street, like thinking through like the meaning of things. I definitely have a level of ego there for sure, but there's that too. That's also a driver.
Well, you did move to Texas, so you must have a little bit of cowboy in you. You wanted to be a gunslinger, six shooter kind of guy.
I mean, yeah, I think I've been known a little bit for that. Just kind of like I will be bull in a china shop. Like I'll run through a wall. Like if we're getting something done. We used to kind of talk. We used to say this at Digital Marketer a lot.
Is it the motto of your state up there in New Hampshire? Was it "Don't tread on me," or is that your next door neighbor?
That one's just more the libertarian thing. But like New Hampshire has the most metal state motto, which is "Live free or die."
Live free or die.
So yeah, so that's where you get that one. But man, yeah, no, they're hardcore up there. So I mean, they're kindred spirit to Texans for sure.
It sounds like it. Yeah. Well, look, Invisible PPC. It does a lot of things. So, what's your motto, first of all?
Gosh, I mean, our motto, if I were to kind of give us one, it's like kind of we're the doers, right? This is what I say to the company. When we bought the company, there was an identity crisis. At least I believe that might be a little like dramatic, but they did like the previous owners didn't know, like, are they truly fulfillment? Are they the ones doing the work for people, or are they a trading house, or are they like, what are they? Right? What are we? Who are we? And really the first thing that I wanted to do is really kind of get clarity on that. And we're ridiculously good at running Google ads for local businesses. Like that, there aren't people who are better than us, right? We don't need to be in the business of training agencies so that they someday might use us. We need to make sure we're the best there is at getting the work done. And that's what's really driven every other thing we come up with. Like when we purchased the company, my business partner, Avi Kumar's had a really successful marketing agency working with end clients for 14 plus years. So we were able to take a lot of the stuff that he had learned and put into place, and then apply what we had and what like the SOPs and those things that were developed at IPPC, and then expand our product line. Like we're really great at Google ads, but we also had a team that's really great at Facebook ads. Why don't we make that a product now? We also are really great at marketing development. That's another thing that we can do. So everything that we build is through the lens of we are the doers. We are the people who get it done. So yeah, that's that.
Super. Give me 3 success secrets that you can tell us about that others could model from. Why you're more successful than your competition.
I think one, it's just care about your people. Like it's even in like it's harder, I think, in this remote world. And then we're also like a global enterprise. So we have people like we have teams in US, Canada, Philippines, India. And it's really easy to forget that people on the other side of a Zoom call are humans. And it's even easier to forget that when they're just like a profile in Slack. So remember that there's like that you need to give grace and give the benefit of the doubt. Those are could be 2 separate things, but they're kind of connected. So like respect the team, give grace, but hold them to a higher level, right? I think the other thing is we're open with, hey, if you have actually, this one's before I get into that one of the big things that we have is in terms of communication and alignment. When we say to folks, when they make a statement, when they assert something, we want to ask them like, are you 50% certain, 80, 90, 100? Like, what's your certainty level? So we all kind of have that internally, like where we're able to ask that question to people, because some people, like if I say something, people like the team will be like, that's 100% assertion. Like he's so confident in this. And I'll be like, man, that's just a guess. Right. I think that's what I think would be the case, but let's explore this further. And so I make sure that I preface like, hey, I'm unsure, but this is what I'm thinking it will likely be. But let's dig into that a little bit more. We train the team to speak like that. So we don't run into cases where like down the line, you're like, hey, you said like we were going to expect to see like a, $8 cost per lead in this type of, in this case, but we're looking like at 15, like what happened? He's like, well, I actually really wasn't sure. It was my best. I was like, cool. Next time, tell us that, or kind of break those types of things down. So I think, communicating your certainty levels is something that I really like. And then we just like are obsessed with And we've defined our market as local service companies. So we only want to work with agencies so we've niched down, not to a like hyper targeted niche, but still a relatively targeted one where we're going after local agencies that serve local businesses. So dentists, chiropractors, roofers, home service people, like anything like that, because that's where we've had the most success. And if we can speak to those people in their language, we'll succeed a lot more versus trying to say, hey, we're great at all Google ads. We say, hey, we're great at Google ads, lead gen Google ads for service businesses. It's wild how many more doors open when you close a lot of other ones versus just saying we're great at Google ads. And we even made the mistake, like, was it about a year ago? We were like, we're awesome at Google ads. Let's take on any client, like any agency. Like,
if I was Groucho Marx and this was his show, the little bird would have fallen down when you said that.
Mm-hmm.
That you'd be surprised how many doors open when you close a lot more.
Yeah, it was wild. And we just saw, like, we had some of our best months when we had best spike months when we decided to take on everybody. But then what ended up happening was they churn out, you lose focus on the stuff you're really good at. And then you actually end up kind of like taking a step back down the line. Whereas if you say, no, absolutely not, we will not do ads for e-commerce companies. We will not do ads for SaaS companies. We will not do ads for XYZ. We will only do for these. Gosh, like that level of focus just changes the game. Yeah. So I think that would be the third one is like really do take niching down and calling your shot seriously. It's not like, I know the whole like there's riches and niches and those types of things. And I get it. Like people are like kind of, that's almost blasé to say at this point, but it's still so absolutely true. If you're on the fence in the agency world at all, specialize. If you're not in the agency world and you're building products, who are you building it for? And how can you speak as if you're talking only to them? Right. So those are kind of the biggies. I think that's where we stand out.
So talking about who would be buyers from you, You say agencies. You don't deal with individual practices. You deal with people that serve a group of practices.
That's correct. So on the Invisible PPC side, we work directly with agencies. And we don't work with the end client specifically. We hide in the background. We're like that, what is it? The cobbler's elves, right? So like, hey, we need ads done for our clients. Then we start hammering away and make sure that we get all that stuff out for them. Why someone should buy from us. So if you are an agency that's like either if you're looking to kind of get out of the day-to-day work of like running the ads and you need a more scalable system, but you also don't want to get into management because management's a whole other set of skills. That's a perfect reason to work with us. If you're an agency that's offering a particular service, say like SEO, web development, anything like that, and you don't want to master a new service, easy to bolt us on, offer it out, mark us up around like between 2 and 4x, and don't do any of the work and maintain the relationship. So really, if you're in those two spots, that's when you'd be a perfect fit to do something like that.
Is there a size business that you would prefer to work with? An ideal type thing? You've already mentioned service.
Yeah. So going to be type of client's going to be in the service industry. So if you're doing, and we actually have a list of the 64 like ones that we do the best in and have like our own internal data breaking down like performance for those as well. So if you're in those niches or considering those, you should check that out. But in terms of ideal client size, I'd probably say that you would be probably in the 6 and 7 and early 7-figure agencies would probably be where we're strongest. After that, like they'll start looking at the P&L and just be like, if you're getting into like multi 7-figure agency, 8-figure agency, it's like, we're going to need an internal team. Right. And totally fine there. Cause I think there's a reality that I don't think a lot of white label, or at least white labelers know it internally, but they don't say it outwardly, which I'm fine saying. Like there is a cap on when you use white label. It's just the case. And I just want to be realistic and upfront about that because there's plenty of time and there's plenty of times where, it does make sense to go internal or to do a hybrid or to do anything along those lines, which we work with a lot of our clients. We've had plenty of clients graduate from us and which is great for them. And I'm happy for them. And we've helped kind of offboard and then also still maintain some of their like local accounts if they kind of move into different niches, right? So yeah, that's kind of more like being in that, like if you're doing between, 15K a month to anywhere between like 100 to like 120K a month, you're probably a perfect fit. And then anything above that.
You talking about ad spend?
No, I'm talking about just revenue for your agency. I'm thinking like agency size. Ad spend will be wildly different depending on like the client you're working with. Some local clients, like you're not going to get them doing massive ad spend. You'll be getting them around like that between 4 and 10K a month. Those is what you'll end up seeing because that's what they can afford. Unless you're working with like, even when you're working with franchises, like they can only afford so much. Like each individual franchise can only afford so much. Which is why like how we set up our kind of our price points is in such a way that like it's very generous, kind of like upfront, where it's like, hey, it's a flat cost up to 5K in ad spend. So most people aren't spending more than $495 a month with us. Then they have like 15-20% of people that are exceeding that, kind of around like between the 10 and 60K mark.
Gotcha. So how do you find your ideal client when you go out and look for them? As a marketer, you should know how to do it, of course.
Yeah. And the one thing that's a bummer is it's actually really hard to target agencies, like local service agencies specifically, on ad platforms. But we do have you can get agency interests, agency jobs, those types of things. But in our creative and those types of things, that's in our offers, that's how we get people to self-segment and self-select. So if we do a general agency audience, we start with view through ads and me talking about agency stuff, or view through video ads and me talking about agency stuff. That then builds another audience that then we say, hey, you should get this smart niche sheet, this thing we were talking about, right? And then once they download that, or any of our lead magnets on our main website, then we put them through like I think it's a 6 or 7 step automation, trying to get them to take a free course that says, hey, here's how you pitch and sell PPC to clients. So teaching people how to sell it and then how to price it. And then also break down our price points in there. Like now factor in like this, hey, doesn't that look like a good amount of money you're adding on? We should probably work together. So between our inbound funnels, which are going to be lead magnet to course to book a meeting and then closing from there, and hitting up like trade shows. So hitting up trade shows, and then also mini masterminds in the agency space. So we spend a lot of time with like agency coaches. So like Alex Schlinsky, Josh Nelson, those types of folks, where we spend a lot of time just getting to know the people there. No hard sells, no anything there. That's not my style. Just letting people know we exist and we're here when they need us, and that we're the real deal, has been enough to make those investments worthwhile as well.
I think that sounds like you've got a good funnel strategy. Trade shows are big in service industries, so yeah. Mm-hmm. And they're all coming right in one place, so you can walk around and find the ones you want to focus on.
Exactly.
Tell me about your well-defined product and service for people listening.
Yeah. So for IPPC, it's white label management for Google Ads. We have white label management for Facebook ads, and we have this program called Developer in a Box. The Google Ads program, it's, hey, we do the entire setup process for you. So we do everything from campaign architecture, ad copy, retargeting ad designs, landing page builds, live reporting dashboard build outs, all the QA testing, and then push that thing live and get it going. And then so that's just during the setup process. Then one of the things that I'm really proud of that we do for management once something goes live is we are in your account daily. No other white labeler can say that. No one is willing to or able to. It hurts our margins a little bit that we do it this way, but we know, especially in the local service world, like you need to be spending every dollar is even more critical for them.
Trust and verify too.
Mm-hmm. And trust and verify. Exactly. Like we have all these scripts and these other things that do a great job, but you need a human running a checklist. Like why do pilots have to run a pre-flight checklist every time? Right. Even the most experienced ones have to be doing that. So we want to make sure people are in your account running that checklist. And yeah, maybe I am over indexing for one of my bigger failures I think I've ever had with that trust and verify. But we want to treat all of our clients the way we treat our own accounts. And I think that people benefit from that. So that's, and from the Google and Facebook side, same case in terms of how we do all those builds and how we're managing spend there. And then developer in a box, it's just it's a really simple program where it's like you get yourself a full-time developer and development team. So like if they're out that day or whatever, we have somebody else doing that. So you get 40 hours of development service on the marketing dev side.
Do you have any particular online platforms that you use that you would say are essential?
Yeah, I mean, one is like, so Google ads is one. It's like it needs to exist for us to have the company. But I'd say ClickUp for everything we do internally is massive. We're still now they just released ClickUp 3.0, so that threw us for a little bit of a loop. So we're kind of getting acclimated with that. I'd say our ESP/CRM. So like we're highly reliant on ActiveCampaign. Like we wouldn't be like a lot of our stuff is maintaining at the top of the inbox with people. We send a weekly newsletter to say that's all either agency or PPC related. And then we have, a 3 times a week email promotion cadence that's going out, as well as utilizing the automations there. Maybe if I got in earlier, I'd be using High Level. I really like their platform, but I've just been an ActiveCampaign customer for so long, it's hard to get me off of it. And then another one that we use that is pretty critical is we have this thing called, the IPPC partnership program, and that's built in Circle. So we have like both a community aspect of things as well as just a content repository, because our partners get like our white label case studies. So we have over 200 of those that they can brand themselves and use during the selling process. We also house all of our trainings there, and then have other kind of like white label materials from like sales call scripts to onboarding templates and and landing page templates, and really kind of everything to help empower them to make that sale. So that's a pretty useful platform for us. Before we put it all in Circle, it was all these different Google Docs and just kind of a mess. And so we're like, how do we, take what is an amazing asset that people are paying like between $380 a quarter or $1180 a year to have access to? How do we make this a much better experience for them? And also, how do we give them more access? Because people will pay more for speed and access. Those are the two things people will pay an arm and a leg for. So one of the things that our partners also get is they have community access. So they have access to agencies, which I'd be lying to say that it's like hopping, like it's people are in there. But what they do get is access to me and the team, where they can ask us these questions like, hey, I'm working on a sales, like an outbound sales script or email cadence. Can someone help me out here? I'm like, I got you. And then they have direct access to me and the team as well, which is another reason people sign up for that as well.
Yeah, I think that's a real competitive edge right there. Tell me about targeted traffic. How do you get targeted traffic, and is that a big part of your success?
So when you're saying targeted traffic, are you just talking like traffic, like how we're generating traffic to the site, or traffic to like
specific, targeted traffic that is so specific that you have a high conversion rate?
Yeah. Okay. So one is going to be in the types of in a few ways, the types of content we create on the blog. Like we have kind of 3 main categories that we're only kind of allowed to post at this point, which is going to be anything like agency thought leadership, Google thought leadership, and then okay, maybe it's just 2 things. I thought there was a third because I almost do everything in 3s. But those are like kind of the 2 lenses. If it doesn't talk about either of those 2 things, I don't care, and I don't want to post it, because we have and then it's technical, like kind of like Google technicals, like Google performance and Google technical. Okay, but we have like a blog post that gets us a ton of traffic, a ton of it. And it's one that's focused on connecting your like Google MCC through like your Google My Business. But that the person looking for that post, like it's our worst traffic. It's our worst traffic type. We get the most of it, but it's awful. Whereas like our homepage, where we specifically call out and go after things like white label PPC and those types of things, our homepage speaks very clearly. Like we only want to work with agencies. I need to update it to say like we only want to work with local service agencies. And all of our content is going to be focused more around like getting those types of keywords. And then, but that's a longer play. SEO takes a long time, harder to kind of shift that boat. But then all of our other traffic, like we are building out through either sponsor, like doing YouTube ads, like our YouTube videos that we're building, because on top of the blog, we're repurposing a lot of those, turn those into videos as well. And then just how we target for inbound traffic to our funnels. And that's going to be based off of interest, job types, or lookalike audiences based off of our custom audience, as well as our lookalike audiences based off of our like email list, people have booked meetings with us and those types of things.
And so what you've been talking about so far with this question, marketing towards getting clients for you, right?
Yeah,
now,
right.
Shift it to the next question of you're marketing for an individual practice.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you find is the targeted traffic method of choice?
Oh, yeah.
Dental office, since I'm a dentist, I understand those. What would you actually do to get targeted traffic for a dental practice?
Yep. So, I mean, since we're just a Google shop, it'd be all Google ads. So, and it's going to be based off of, especially if it's a newer campaign, we're going to try and cast a wide net with generic search terms that are going to be like dentist near me, or like if they're going for like dental implants, like what services are you kind of looking for, and then building out campaigns that way for the specific service. But we'd be aiming to get people who are especially in the local service space, people who are in a buying mode, like now, right? That's why like dentists, chiropractors, roofers, those types of people do so well, and they're designed to do very well on Google ads because they don't need to be the best. They just need to be the first, and the first to answer their phone or answer, like, because if the form gets filled in, you need to be calling that person immediately. You need to have those widgets in place to make sure you're getting them on the phone. If someone calls you, you answer, right? Because and this is anecdotal, but this is kind of how we approach all of our campaigns. I was moving into my house and was driving up with some stuff I was bringing from my apartment, and a tree, like a big tree limb, fell in my garage. Like as I was driving up, it just went, pfft. And I was like, oh God, like I don't know what to do with this. And so I just wrote like emergency tree removal, right? And excuse me, whoever came up called the first one, didn't answer. Called the second one, didn't answer. Third one, person answered. I didn't care the price, didn't care about anything. I needed to talk to somebody, and I'm like, can you get it now? And I'm like, yes. I was like, perfect. Those other two people that I called eventually called me back, but they lost the business already, right? So what we're doing is we want to make sure that we're getting targeted traffic based off of people who are feeling a pain, who are feeling the pain abundantly, and making sure that we're ranking as high as we possibly can, and and making sure our agencies know that to relay to the client that either they need to be answering these things or to have things in place to make it feel like someone is getting to them right away. So yeah, that's kind of the approach.
Yeah, I know about pain. People want to get out of pain quickly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, talking about digital paid media, paid ads, this is your specialty.
Yeah.
What would you give us some percentage points on revenue that you recommend businesses, practices spend on paid digital media of their total ad budget?
Total ad budget should likely be somewhere between 10 and 15% of what your revenue is. And that's conservative. So, yeah.
So I would say when I was consulting with dentists, I'd look at most of their ad budgets and they were 2-3%.
Way too low.
5% would be high for most. Mm-hmm. And the ones that really are knocking it out of the park, they're doing 10 or 15%.
Yep. There's a fear on it. And I can get it too, for like in like the dental world, like I'm already getting clients. I'm already getting these things. Why do I need to be doing these? And then you're like, well, because this is a more scalable system. Like you don't have to hope for referrals or these other things, but it's like totally see that. And then the other side that, why likely they might not be spending as much on ads, because when they do start working, they might not have the capacity to actually work.
Capacity is a lot of it.
Yeah. Capacity. Like businesses can't, like, in the digital goods and like in like information space, like software space and those things, doubling your business, like people can double, triple, quadruple, right? The capacity is not an issue there. But when you're working, like where you require a new office space or more practitioners or anything along those lines, like most people realistically can grow like 20-30%. And that's about it until they have to really start thinking about larger scale issues.
Yeah. The bottleneck is often the producer's hands in a lot of practices. You're crafting art.
Yeah.
As a dentist, you're crafting art every day, not just selling a widget off the shelf. You got to make whatever you sell. Yeah. It's kind of like painting fine art. An oil painter can only paint as fast as he can paint.
Yep. Yep.
I like it. Good questions, good answers. We're making some progress. I want to know a little bit about your ambassadors that refer to you. How do you convert clients into brand ambassadors?
No, that's a good one. So clients themselves, like any of our agencies that are with us, or like the agency world is it's a tight knit community. So it's easy to kind of get people to be like, hey, who are you using? And if they're willing to say they're using a white labeler, like we get them to. We also incentivize where we say, hey, anybody you send our way, what is it? IPPC, I think we get 15% of the referral for the first year that they're with us. So, and as they expand as well. So say if somebody refers us an agency, another agency goes, hey, agency friend, go to Justin and his team. And they start working with us. Say they bring in like 1 or 2 clients to start, but say throughout the year, they bring like 6 more. Our agencies get paid out on that expansion as well. So we make it it's very generous for the stuff that people bring our way. And then for non-agencies, like we work specifically with a lot of coaches and those people as well that like we've just provided a lot of value to their audience and like high level, like they're not a referral partner for us, but like we've done a lot of like value first content for their group. And they say, hey, you should check that. Like here's a link to them. Right. So we do a lot of that type of work too. We have a few that are referral partners. Most of them just like want to make sure they have good, that there's good people taking care of their tribe. But yeah, so there's kind of like 2 types of people. It's like our content partners, like who turns into somebody that's going to be an ambassador for us, and then our actual clients who will then refer other folks our way.
Excellent. Well, I think the people that get a referral fee from you must be very grateful. So that's always a nice little thing to do, to be rewarded for sharing. What about yourself? What are you grateful for today, Justin?
Man, I think that I get to do stuff like this. Like I don't have a commute. I don't have I get to wake up every day and kind of do things on my terms, which is like, I think that's what everybody kind of wants. Right. And I often forget that that's kind of the case that I'm in. My sense of urgency is something that has, I think, helped me succeed, but is also a stressor. And I need to sit back every now and then and remind myself like, hey, this doesn't suck like at all. And that I am very fortunate to, wake up, like get my dog, play outside with him for a little bit, drink some coffee, get into work mode, and then just kind of do things on my terms. It's a really fortunate place to be.
So you orchestrated where you build your business working from home, and you have a expanded network of people that work with you.
Yep, that's right. That's right. And we do have an office too. I go to it maybe once a week, but the rest of the Austin team goes there a little bit more regularly than me. Just because, man, like I was doing remote before it was cool, or before it was necessity. I guess that's more of what it was.
Nice.
And yeah, it's one of those, like I love it. I'm way more productive. I get more stuff done. It's always been the case.
Can't beat that. Yeah, my work office that I'm in right now is about 12 feet above my bed where I sleep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like very nice, and it's looking out over the trees with the fall leaves all over the place. Beautiful. Home is good.
Yeah, not much better than that.
I couldn't do that in dentistry when I was going to the office every day, but again, that was only 5 minutes from here, so that wasn't too bad.
Exactly. I mean, that's also the benefit when it's your stuff too. You can pick how far your commute's going to be, assuming you can get the place. Like I know my business partner picked our office for that very reason. It's very close to where he lives, a little further for me, but yeah.
I don't like a commute. An hour commute in Atlanta won't get you very far.
Oh no, not at all.
So let me ask you this: your living mentor. Do you have anybody that you follow right now?
Ooh. That one's tough. I think I've had so many like one-on-one mentors, kind of just like being in the space for so long, like being able to work directly with Ryan Dice, Perry Belcher, those types of folks. Like, I mean, I was just brought up doing that type of work with them for so long. And like that like people spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars to get that like FaceTime with them, where like that was like where they paid me, and that was where I learned everything. So yeah, that was a big one for me.
You mentioned Ryan Dice, right?
Yeah, that's
I
right.
had a session with him one time where I showed him my book,
Yeah.
and he said he liked the title of that book because it grabs your attention, you know. So yeah, he's been one of my mentors too. So I know what you're talking about. He's an excellent role model.
Oh yeah, and he's I mean, like that's the reason I moved down to Austin. Like I was remote with digital marketer up living in Boston, and I would come down to the office once a month for about a week, and then I just decided one day I was like, no, I want to almost like renew my vows. I want to go all in. I remember calling him like, hey, he thought I was calling to quit, and I was calling to say, hey, I'm coming down. Like I'm gonna come down next week and find an apartment, and I'm gonna start coming to the office every day. And that was probably about working for him for about 3 years. I'd known him a couple of years before that as well. And yeah, like just having that FaceTime, like it was really cool being in that, like that atmosphere. Like we, at the time, I think we had about 70 employees, and like we'd had this really big open concept area, like living room type thing. It'd be like 5 o'clock, and like we'd all just like Ryan be hanging out, and we'd be chatting like business, life stuff, those things. And people would just hang out there until like 7, 8 o'clock, just like talking about stuff that's interesting to them. And it was just a really cool vibe for a really long time. Yeah.
You bet. I understand that totally. Why is impactful important to you?
Oof. It's important. I think, I don't know if it's like, I think some of it's ego, and I think some of it's like, I don't know if it's like legacy based on those things, but I don't want to just be another cog, I guess. Like it's like you like there's times for when you're a role player, and there's times for when you're setting the roles, right? And I think for me, I've always felt that I had there was a much better delta on what I was able to achieve when I was the one kind of like calling the shots, quarterbacking it versus being the O line, right? So
yeah, I get a lot of crazy answers when I ask this question. People don't want to leave a mark. People don't want to be known. Others want to be the superstar. They want to be world famous. So it's really an individual decision.
Yeah.
But everybody wants to be remembered for something. So always think about when it's all said and done and you're finished. What do you want to be remembered for then?
I think there's two things that, like, one, like, that was kind of a funny guy. Like, I think like that's one. And then two, I think he came up with some cool things. Like it could be anything. Like I think for me, it's like, was what I did useful for someone else? And did I do it in a way where it was, where they felt good? Right. Cause I remember, who is it? One of my coworkers at the time, Russ Henneberry, whenever we'd kind of do speeches and talk about those things, one of the things he used to tell me all the time was, he's like, man, like you can say the smartest thing on stage, but people are going to forget that 10 minutes later. What they're not going to forget is how they felt. And that one kind of stuck with me for how I'd almost perform when I'm doing stage presentations and those types of things, to be like, how can I make people feel is the number one thing. And then obviously the content like needs to be truthful, factual, useful, those types of things. But can I make people feel like good after the laugh? Like, hey, I liked that guy. Like, I think that might be it. Remember, hey, he was a likable dude for the most part.
So you want to be known as a funny guy, right?
Yep.
You want to be like Red Skelton and his crazy Guggenheim guy, or do you want to be like Johnny Carson slick? You know,
I think it'd probably be more definitely the latter. I think it'd be like, yeah, it was just slick dude, like kind of had like smart guy, just had a weird way of looking at things every now and then. Would be one. Almost like I think the eccentric part of it would stick out. I remember my mom asked me when I was a kid, she's like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And my response was, I just want to be weird.
You mean David Letterman? That's what you mean.
Oh yeah, that's it. There it is. Yeah. I was like, well, I just want to be weird, and I've been sticking to that ever since then.
Or I guess at your generation, maybe Conan O'Brien.
Yeah. Oh no, he's a cartoon character.
Yeah.
Which is I've been described as that more than once.
Let me ask you this. How can we support you and Invisible PPC again? Give us the connecting points.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an agency or you know agencies that need support, specifically on fulfillment for their clients, not fulfillment for themselves, but for their clients, like shoot them our way. Or if you are that agency, like reach out. You can go to invisibleppc.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm hyper responsive there. And then yeah, if you're needing anything there, like check that out. If you're not in the space at all, so say you're in the like you're an end client or you're not looking for white labeling or anything along those lines, check out we just released a piece of software that will help you with kind of prospecting as well as looking at the competitive landscape in the Google ad space. That's called PPC Reveal. So that's kind of our offering for people who, hey, they know, like, and trust us, but don't quite need us right now, where everybody can use a tool like that. So that's why that was our own internal tool that we decided to, brand and sell.
An introductory piece just to get to know you.
Exactly.
What would you say about your guest experience on the Influencer podcast today?
Oh, this was great. The questions are really well thought out, and like, it's not as much tactical type stuff. Like, there's tactical questions, but also kind of getting to the crux, like kind of really digging into the bigger questions as to the why or what motivates. You don't get those that often on podcasts. So that was really cool.
A lot of it's technical, I know, to audiences that are specific, but we're worldwide, and most of us are entrepreneurs that listen to this particular program. So yeah, I want to give you the final word before I come back and speak to you again. So I'm going to let you have the platform.
All right. Awesome. Cool. I mean, thanks everybody. If you made it this far to listening, hopefully you're able to grab something of use from some of my ramblings here. But if you are an agency that serves local businesses that need some ad support, you should definitely check out invisibleppc.com, or just find me on LinkedIn, reach out, say you saw me on this show, and we can talk a little bit more. And then, if you're an end client or not looking for white label support, check out ppcreveal.ai. That's one of our great software products that's kind of used to help you prospect, as well as, do the whole see how the competitive landscape is going for a particular market for a particular niche in a particular market. So yeah, that's kind of the overall pitch there. So go ahead and you can take it away.
Thanks, Justin. It's been good. Your knowledge is superior. Your delivery has been excellent. I think people do understand what you do based on our conversation today. So it should be fruitful to bring in some more clients, hopefully some agencies clients. If not, I'd be surprised. Now, one thing you showed us today is what the value of freedom is. The fact that you're working from home with a great company, worldwide business. That's what a lot of our listeners like, and I always will help people capture freedom that way. And that's why I put the QR code of how you can reach me. A lot of people want to be on the show, on the Influencer podcast. And so to do that, you have to go to the digital business card or ovu.me, which is where that leads to. And there's really two things on there that I focus on. My website, drbillwilliams.tv, is basically my business card talking about the Influencer podcast, and all my different podcasts for the last year are up here for anybody to look at. We've talked to mostly marketers, but others too. So you'll fit right in. And the other thing you'll find is our AI technology. Everything we have that we sell is about AI technology infusion. And so you can go there and find out what's available for free. We have email services. We have URL shorteners. We have a whole social media platform. But here's the one I wanted to show you guys. Justin, this one would be particularly useful for you. It's the next best thing for tracking website performance. So
all right, let's see it.
If it one-ups Google Analytics, it might be for you.
So, I mean, Google Analytics has gotten worse and worse with the move from to GA4. So anything I can see, like.
Yeah, when we market this, we talk to people about simplicity and all in one place and a much better user interface. So yeah, you might want to look at that for what you do. I don't know. Maybe even your clients would use it. Who knows? And the last thing I wanted to mention is you said you're international.
Yep.
And one of the products that we talk about a lot is OConnect, which is AI language translation capable, where we can actually talk in any language and be heard in another language.
That's like the Babelfish at that point. Like who needs to learn languages anymore? I love it.
Yeah. As we roll out different versions, the one that goes internationally from English speakers to Russian to Chinese to Spanish to Arabic to Hindi all at once to any group, you can be talking to all of them and they can hear it in their own language. So that's kind of one of our big products, and it's going to be the biggest product we have. Obviously, it's like having the UN translators all in your pocket.
Love it.
So anyway, that's kind of what we do, and glad to source you and all your friends as they're listening and they get curious. Just go to any of these URLs and you'll basically get an OMail address to check in and look at everything. Much of it's free. All of it has free trials. So we're glad to share and try to serve the community that way. Justin, it's been great having you on the Influencer Podcast. I can tell you're doing a great job, and keep it up.
Thank you, my man. I really enjoyed it, and looking forward to digging into some of these products as well.
You bet. We'll talk soon. If you like any of them, give me some feedback. I always enjoy feedback from anybody who checks our products out, and we're going upwards. We're creating freedom for the average guy. It's an affiliate marketing program, so you know what affiliate means. Commissions for everybody. Thank you, and we'll see you all in the next Influencer Podcast. Take care, everybody.